I didn't hear the laughter until after she said the words, "It's over," sharp, performed, echoing through speakers she didn't bother to mute. For a second, I thought the call had connected to the wrong room. The giggles, the clinking glasses, the sugar-sweet venom in her voice, none of it lined up with the life I thought I lived. I could picture her standing there, wine in hand, her friends leaning in, waiting to see if I would break. I didn't. I just said, "Okay, I understand." Then I hung up. No questions, no tremor in my voice. Just a quiet, surgical cut. It wasn't until the next morning that anything truly snapped. Her father's voice tore through the walls of their estate, wild and ragged. "The house, dear God, what did you just let him do to the house?" I stood there watching it unfold from a distance. Her panic, the disbelief, the way her friends suddenly disappeared from the doorway like frightened birds. She kept asking the same question over and over. What did he do? She didn't know, not yet, but I did, and it all started long before that call, long before the performance she mistook for power, long before she realized, I don't raise my voice. I simply wait for the truth to collapse on its own. The first crack appeared months earlier, a late text she hid too quickly, a smile that didn't belong to me, a softness in her voice reserved for someone she shouldn't have been thinking about. I remember lying beside her, staring at the ceiling, pretending sleep while her breathing shifted, quiet, excited, guilty, the kind of rhythm people have when they're living two lives at once. I tried to convince myself it was nothing, a misunderstanding, work stress, anything but betrayal. But suspicion grows like mold, silent, patient, always hungry. I watched her more closely, the rushed showers, the phone flipped face down, the scent of cologne that wasn't mine lingering in the car after she used it. And yet, I didn't confront her. Confrontation gives the other person too much warning. Instead, I learned to smile at the right moments, to nod at her lies, to let her think she was winning some secret game I never agreed to play. Every detail, every slip, every fracture in her story, I collected it without reacting. Because the truth doesn't need my anger, it simply needs time. The first thing I checked was her phone bill. Unknown numbers, repeat late-night calls, patterns that didn't fit the version of life she sold me. Then came the bank statements, charges at hotels dressed up as work dinners, a sudden interest in expensive lingerie she never wore at home. Still, I remained calm. Still, I stayed silent. I studied her like a puzzle, a cracked mirror reflecting a stranger's life. Every night, I laid next to her with a stillness that bordered on predatory patience. When she kissed me, I counted how long it took for her lips to pull away. When she hugged me, I noted the absence of weight behind her arms. When she said, "I love you," I listened to the hollowness lodged between each syllable. I wasn't looking for a confession. I was collecting evidence, piece by piece, until the picture became undeniable. She wasn't just unfaithful, she was meticulous about it. And she believed I was too dull, too trusting, too naive to ever notice the shift in her shadows. She forgot something important. Quiet people aren't harmless. They're observant. The final confirmation came wrapped in an envelope. Private investigator. 2 weeks of surveillance. Photographs that punched harder than any truth she could have spoken. Her, him, hands where they didn't belong. Lips pressed where promises used to be. I didn't rage, didn't break, didn't even blink. I simply walked into the living room, placed the envelope on the table, and said one sentence, "Look inside." Slowly. She did. Her face drained, her hands shook, her breath fractured into tiny, pathetic gasps. I felt nothing, just a cold, expanding clarity. She whispered my name like it could undo the evidence. But the truth doesn't negotiate. I never yelled, never cursed, never asked why. Instead, I handed her the legal documents I'd prepared quietly over weeks. property transfers, financial reversals. Every asset she thought she controlled, stripped from her grip with surgical precision. She called me cruel. I called it balance. When she tried to apologize, I simply stepped aside, letting her feel the empty space she created between us. The real blow wasn't the evidence or the losses. It was realizing that the man she mocked, belittled, humiliated for entertainment had already outgrown her long before she thought of leaving. She cried. I watched. She begged. I blinked. She reached for me with hands that once guided betrayal. I didn't move. Because once you see someone's truth, you can't unsee it. You can only walk past it. I left without raising my voice, without slamming a door, without giving her the drama she once weaponized. Silence is heavier, especially when it follows someone forever. And as I stepped out of the house she thought she'd used to cage me, one final thought settled into place. I didn't lose her. I freed myself.